Hey, good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday. And Kale, how you doing this morning?
Hey, doing fantastic. How's it going your way?
Doing good, man. The weather's warmed up a little bit, so it's nice. But welcome everybody to the Hyde Park Ninjas Tuesday stream, and we'll be talking some martial arts today, and who knows whatever else will come up. So, anything crazy going on? I know you guys had a busy martial arts weekend with the fitness fest you had going on or something. How did that go? I know the weather was a little bit rough up that way.
Yeah, I'm actually still recovering. I'm still pretty wiped out from the weekend. Went right from the weekend into the work week, and but we had a great event. And yeah, we had the weather was rough. We had a 5K that was part of the event Saturday morning, and the temperature I think was 11 or 12 degrees, and um, we still had some diehards show up and run it, and they were awesome. They did a great job, but yeah, but it was a cold weekend, and it's oh, let's see, a nice oh my goodness, 42 degrees right now. Uh that's like summertime right now
Yeah,
compared to what it was the weekend. So
that's about where we're at. I think we're in the 40s, mid 40s. So it's supposed to warm up, I think, up to about 60 by Thursday, which is a crazy, crazy temperature swings. It was like 5 degrees the other day, 7 degrees, and now we're going to be pushing 60. But I think we have a lot of rain coming our way.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Weather's been nuts. So, man, it was a fun weekend, but it was a little bit disappointing weekend with the football realm.
For both of us.
Yeah. The games were very similar too in the way they finished too. It was ironic. It just wasn't meant to be this year, it is what it is. I heard a lot of people complaining about this call, that call, and yeah, there were probably some bad calls on both sides, and people in Buffalo were talking about how the ball was inflated funny so that the the ball would hook to the right. But I watched the whole game obviously at our Bills backers group here, and when I was watching Bass kick, I think it was the touchdown, the last touchdown that we did score. The extra point was almost missed the exact same way. It
Mm.
kind of hooked to the right, and I was like, "Holy cow, did we almost miss that?" And so I think maybe it was just an off day for him. Something was off, either the holding, the kicking. Something wasn't in sync maybe there, and the nerves of a game that's that high caliber. I think everybody forgets about that when you're in competition, especially at that level, regardless of what sport or activity it is. There's a lot to be said about that pressure. Everything's different.
Yeah, and to kind of tie that into martial arts, I'll never forget one fight where I did end up winning the fight, but in the first round I had a triangle choke set up, and I would have had the fight finished, but I had to. And if you train jujitsu, you know what I'm talking about. If not, just try to hang in there. But basically, I had the figure four the wrong way, and then I swam under the wrong leg to finish the triangle, and of course he had actually just rocked me pretty hard, and we ended up in the guard position. But I even through that, I was able to slap on the triangle. But something I have done thousands, probably tens of thousands of times. I know I could do it in my sleep. I teach it every day. I did it backwards in the fight, right? So, you're absolutely right. The pressure can get to you. The moment can get to you. It doesn't matter how many times you've practiced, what caliber you are. That you're everyone is susceptible to that pressure.
Oh yeah. You brought up a good point there because with MMA, and if you tie martial arts into like self-defense and more like street fighting scenario, there's a big difference when you're trying to lock on jujitsu holds and somebody's throwing punches and swinging at you than it is to like doing jujitsu and you're kind of, rolling around and you don't have to worry about elbows coming at your head or punches. And nobody likes to get hit by elbows. If you've ever been hit by an elbow, you know the damage it does and how it feels. And it's hard to replace that in like everyday regular jujitsu training because there's not that striking aspect.
Yeah, absolutely. It adds a whole different element to it. Dopus Crew is asking what is the best MMA advice I've ever received. Um, Shoo, cycling through lots of years of advice. You know what? I'm actually gonna. a piece of advice that I got for sport in general, and I got this is if you want to be good at something, you need to spend the majority of your time doing that specific thing. So I think a mistake that I made in my earlier MMA career is I spent, man, probably over 50%, maybe 60 or 70% of the time running in the gym, lifting weights, doing all these fitness things that were great and it's necessary for fighting. Um, but I got some advice that said you need to be spending about 80% of your time, if not 90% of your time, uh, fighting, like sparring, and training martial arts because that's what you're competing in. Use that 20, 10, 15, 20% of your time for running and calisthenics and lifting and other things to benefit your martial arts training. But if you're going to pursue, fighting, then you need to fight. You need to get as many rounds in sparring and training because that's ultimately what you're competing in. So there's so much more Dopus Crew, but I think that one really, when I implemented that into my training and just switched the how much more time I spent sparring and boxing, kickboxing, jujitsu, wrestling. When I spent the majority of my time doing that, I my fighting obviously improved because you just need to have fitness for that whatever your specific sport is, right? So if you are a football player, you need to play football. Of course, you need to lift. You need to have your cardio up and strength too. But if you're a I mean, look at Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan. What did they spend hours upon hours upon hours playing basketball, shooting, getting your reps in? Um, and of course, they lifted and stuff too. So anyway, that was a long answer, but I think that was one that really stuck out to me. It's the first one that popped in my head. So
Yeah, I've had a lot of advice over the years, I guess, and probably the best advice was don't do it, save your body. Looking back at my age, but man, then you miss all the fun, right? And I think you hit the nail on the head. So you do have to stay in shape, and when I was younger, especially, I was big into bodybuilding and stuff like that, and just staying in good shape. And I think that's really important to prevent injury when you're in events like that, and keeping the body condition. The cardio is super important because when you get into a fight, especially, you get into the higher levels where you're doing a championship fight, there's more rounds. So it's more minutes. And, the first thing I noticed in my first full contact event I ever did when I was really young is that your energy drains really quick. So, it's a little bit different when you train at the academies with your partners and your training partners. It's you get tired, but nothing can replace that first time, you get in there, how quick your energy is just gone. You get through like that first round and it's like, what happened? I can usually train for like 30 minutes. And after this, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, I was spent. And it's such a martial arts in general, whether it's sparring, MMA, jiu-jitsu, it's such a physical and mental workout. It's almost like you're doing jiu-jitsu or whatever art it is, and you're playing chess at the same time. And it's a workout physically and mentally for sure. And like you said, I think one of the best ways you compare is to actually the best way to prepare is to get in there and do it because you can't replicate the reaction and timing. So you can train, the same kick or the same technique 1,000 times, 2,000 times, 10,000 times. And while you do have the muscle memory down and you have the technique down, if you do that great technique that you're really good at, but you do it at the wrong time, it really doesn't matter anyway. So
yeah,
there's a lot to be said for reaction. And every art is different too. Everybody is always asking, what's the best martial arts to train? And it really depends on the situation. And one thing that I found is, with stand up, and I spent most of my life doing stand up, before I got into jiu-jitsu, and there's so much with like distance management. And usually, whether it's self-defense or stand-up fighting, the person that controls the distance usually can control the outcome of that situation the best, if you control it. And With arts like jujitsu, it's different. It's completely different because now you're not it's not as visual, there's more like feel to it. You're having to feel, what your opponent is doing and you're reacting based on that movement, the way the weight shifts, the way that they move. So that it's so different. So there's not, in my opinion, and Bruce Lee really proved this. How many arts did he learn and really master, to become as good as he was? And there's a lot to be said for that. So it really depends on the situation, where jujitsu is unbelievable on the ground. Some of the stuff you can do and a lot of the, like the basic self-defense from standing and the throws. And then, with your stand up, with jujitsu, the one thing is if you're not in close, you can't do anything with your jujitsu. But with striking, you can still get in by altering the techniques just a little bit, where I could be like, maybe in a safe zone stand up and I'm doing a technique like a side kick. If I just lift my leg and side kick, yeah, maybe I can't reach depending on which leg that I'm using. But if I change my footwork to like a slide step or something a little bit different where it's disguised, now I can close the gap quickly, and maybe the partner or the person that I'm going against, they can't react to it quick enough because they don't know it's coming, because they don't expect it based on the distance. So, and that's where the reaction time and the experience, all that comes into play, but doing it, kind of on the fly.
Yeah, and Dopus Crew said he's planning on joining a gym or an academy and just running and lifting right now, which is great to stay in shape. And um, yeah, spoiler alert, the best martial art to train is I don't think there's a best martial art to train. I think that's up to um, the individual and finding out what's best for them. Some people love jujitsu, some people hate jujitsu, some people love striking, boxing, Muay Thai, Taekwondo, and some people don't like to strike. So you just got to find out what's best for you. And um, uh, my advice too is you have to find a group of people that fit your mentality and um, your goals. Um, so I always advise people to go try different places, and because if you're practicing the martial art that you want or you think you might like, but the instructor or the vibe or the people there are not on the same page as you, you're not going to have a good experience. Um, I think you could be training a martial art that maybe isn't your favorite, but the instructor is great. You're in alignment with the people at that academy and mentally, and um, I think that you have a much better chance of sticking with it and being consistent with your training if you like the people that you're training with and your instructors. So go try different places, try different martial arts, and really pay attention to the instructors. And because I've been to some absolutely wonderful academies where instructors are just you can just tell they just love what they do and they're there to help the students. And I've been to some just some terrible academies, to be honest. And where the instructors are egotistical. They just kind of want to show how much stuff they know, and how cool they are, and they're not really there for the student. And I don't like to talk down on others, and I'm sure they've done some great things to help people out too. But just the vibe wasn't right for me, and how I what I was looking for. So anyway, I hope you find a great gym. Let us know how that journey goes, Dopus Crew, and finding a place to train, and if we can help out in any way, we would love to.
Yeah, definitely reach out. Let us know what area you're in. We do know a lot of people in a lot of places, and might be able to hook you up with a good training academy. And like you said, culture is everything. And you want to find a school that's has a great instructor that you can relate to. Everybody's different, different personalities, and I like when I get students in. One of the things that I look at too, because we evaluate as students as well, and one thing I look for is someone that's open to learning. If somebody comes in and they're dead set on Muay Thai is the best art, that's it, that's all there is. Already they're closing their mind to getting better at something else and learning and being able to, put that into their, their gameplay. But culture is everything, and find students and instructors that you want to train around. And, I've, like you said, I've been to a lot of academies too, and some are very different. Some are amazing and welcoming. And then the other thing you've got to look at too is when you're doing everyday training, you're training 2, 3, 4 times a week, depending on your schedule and availability. If you go in and you just beat the crap out of each other the whole time, every single time you train, you, your body just wears out doing that. So sometimes you want to do more flow roll so that you're feeling the movement and stuff. And you shouldn't be going, in my opinion, you shouldn't be going up, 110% in every single match like it's a world championship, because that's where all the injuries start. And then you've got people, I was just it was about 2 months ago, not even about a month and a half ago, I was at a holiday party and I was talking to some coworkers of my wife's, and one of the guys that was there, he's like, "Oh man, I heard you do, Brazilian jiu-jitsu and taekwondo." And he said, "I tried that. I went and I trained at a school." And he told me the school, and he said, "Yeah, after about 3 weeks, I had to stop because I broke my ribs 3 times in like a short time period." And he probably wasn't even healed from one injury before he got the next one. And it was just so hardcore. And especially when you have a new student coming in, they haven't even learned anything yet, and you're throwing them in like that. It's just not a good experience. And you think about when someone goes and trains at academy like that, I get really upset actually because it gives martial arts a bad name. Like, oh, that's too dangerous. We can't do that. And if it's taught the right way in a nice, safe, environment, and not everybody is there to be an MMA fighter. It's such a small percentage. There's some people that are there for sometimes the social engagement. They just want to get out and do stuff, especially after COVID. People were, cooped up inside, and they just wanted to get out and, be around other people and have fun, learn something new, and experience, the great things that the arts have. And with all the arts, there's so much different stuff you can learn, on top of all the physical things that we get, staying in good shape, the cardio to keep our heart healthy, to live longer and better lives. And, the social engagement is super important. And then, for children too, martial arts are huge for children, and all the stimulation of their mind, to do good things. So it's not just doing those good things, like showing respect and courtesy in the academies. But my goal as an instructor is to have those children take that out into everyday life and, have good ethics, have good respect, go to work and work hard. I think we're seeing more and more of that nowadays. And I can talk about this for hours. I feel like people are getting lazy nowadays. They just don't want to get out there and do stuff. And, but that's one thing martial arts teaches you, to work hard. And, hopefully that spills over into their everyday life. So when they go to school, they're not going to hot dog it. They're going to get out there and work hard, get the grades that their parents expect. And, that's going to help them in the long term. So there's so many benefits in martial arts, physical and mental. There really are.
Yeah, most definitely. And as far as finding what martial art is good for you, you just got to go try. And I know as we get older, it gets harder and harder to try new things. So I have a lot of respect for the adults that get out there and try a jujitsu or taekwondo class or whatever it may be, because I mean you're putting yourself out there. You know you, you might trip and fall and bust your butt in front of everybody, and I've done that, you know thousands of times. Um, but I know how difficult it can be. So and that's why finding a good group of people to train with is so important. People that are going to be supportive, people that are going to be understanding, accept you where you're at, uh, maybe fitness wise, physically, and start your journey wherever you are. And I've had people of all fitness levels start martial arts. I'm talking from elite athletes. Actually, I've gotten to work with some elite athletes in their off seasons and stuff like that, and that's actually really interesting too, because it just shows you. It actually proves my point from earlier, because got to work with some athletes that, man, they are professional. They get paid. a lot of money to pay to play sports, um, and we start throwing like I want to do these kicks and these boxing combos and stuff like that. And man, it didn't look pretty, and but what it goes to show is, you can tell that that athlete has been practicing one specific thing or one specific sport, and that is their specialty. And
Hmm.
of course, that athletics carry over, but you know, um, and so I don't know. It was very interesting to work with that um, with elite athletes and have them throw like a round kick or a spinning, reverse side kick or something like that, and the coordination just isn't there yet. It still takes thousands of hours to get proficient at the different skills. But no, so try different places. I encourage you to have the courage to get out and go uh, research some different schools around your area and go check it out. And when you find the right place, it's awesome and it's totally worth it. So, but you do have to take that, um, have the courage to take that step onto the mat and give it a try.
Yeah, and sometimes that's the hardest step for people to take is to actually come in the academies and start. And
It is. It
for
really is.
me, starting, I was terrified as a kid. To start, it was a little bit intimidating, and man, once I got going, it was just life changing. It really was, and I can't speak enough about how it helps you in other parts of your life for sure. Things get going tough and teaches
I've
you to keep
I've
going.
I've felt that. I'm fortunate to where I started young enough. I started when I was 4 years old, so I don't really remember starting and being there. I was just a kid and kind of grew up into it. But what I do feel from it now is that uh, uh I'm not afraid to jump out and try something new. Try a dance class, a new sport, or just it just gives you that courage to maybe be able to laugh at yourself a little bit, or
Yeah.
get out if you mess up, hey, we all mess up, and just to be comfortable with yourself. So I know it's helped me with that just tremendously. So you know, me and you are always huge advocates for martial arts and finding that place to train and build that confidence. And um, so yeah, I'm always pushing. And even I've got people in our around us that train at different academies, not at ours. Fully supportive. If you find the right place for you and you're if you're training martial arts, you are getting healthy and you know you're in a positive environment, and that's what matters.
Yeah, 100%. And different gyms focus on different things too, so you got to look at what your goals are in mind and what you want to get out of it. So, and you're definitely gonna make mistakes. I know, God, in martial arts I've made so many mistakes, trying techniques and failed miserably, and then you just get better with them the more you do it, and
You got any
it's
good
the way it
fail
works.
stories?
Oh God, I could probably have a list of millions of them. So when I started, I've got the worst memory. When I was younger, I had the worst memory. So when we got into learning the patterns, we didn't in the old days, we didn't really have a choice in what we were going to compete in. Our Grandmaster Wong told us, "You're competing in this, this, and this," and that's what we competed in. So we had to do the form patterns, and in doing form patterns, that means you got to memorize movements and do them in the right order. And I was horrible, horrible at memorizing techniques. So for me, that was probably one of the hardest things actually starting out. And then my balance was awful, so just everybody starts in different places. Everybody's got like strengths and weaknesses, and you just build upon those. And the stuff that you're good at, you make that stuff better. But the stuff you're weak at too, you got to enhance and make that stuff better too. So maybe spend a little bit more time on some of those. And I was talking to the kids in class. This actually was last night, and you know. Usually, when the kids get out there, they're always going to kick with their favorite leg first because it's the stronger one. And if you have that situation, what I was telling him is back when I started competing really heavy, I was a lot better with my right leg than I was with my left. So I went to this different regimen of training where I would do everything that I did on my right side. If I did 10 for reps, I would do 15 on the left. And eventually it actually started to even out, and my left one got a little bit better for a short time. And then I had to switch and start working on that right leg. So, just a little bit of extra focus sometimes on those weak points. And with the kids, I was kind of relating it to school, because with school, you think about, I asked one of the kids, "What's your favorite subject?" And he said, "Reading." Reading was his favorite subject. And I said, "What's your grade in it?" And he said, "A 98%." I said, "What's your least favorite subject?" And he said, "Math." And I said, what I said, "Is your grade lower than your reading grade?" And he said, "Yeah, it's like a B minus." And, it just goes to show the things that we're better at, usually we do a little bit more. And that's for him, he reads
Yeah.
all the time. He loves to do it. And I
Yep.
said, "How much extra time do you spend on math?" He said, "I do my homework and that's about it. And it's kind of the same. So I guess in life in general, what we focus on is what we get. So, depending on what you want in life, you got to focus on that to get it right.
Yeah, and I've got what I try to instill in the students, and constantly work on in myself as well is in order if you want. Okay, for instance, I wanted to be successful fighting, and I felt like um had some ups and downs, but I felt I felt pretty good with my career and what I was able to accomplish with it. Um, and the reason is, and this was just taught, it was taught to me by my mentors, growing up, was you got to do the things that you don't want to do. You gotta those early morning workouts, early morning training sessions, the extra push-ups, the dieting. That oh goodness, the diet. I love food.
Dieting. Oof.
Um, Dieting and making sure you're putting proper fuel into your body. Putting in the extra work, the days where you want to sit on the couch, getting up and going to go train, like you know, and that's also life. I don't enjoy like brushing my teeth every morning. It's not my favorite thing to do, but we do it. It's discipline. It's you're taking
Hmm.
care of yourself, taking care of your body, and um, you know, keeping your house clean, keeping your yard cut. Those. I guess some people uh enjoy some of that stuff, but I don't. I don't like doing it. But hey, we do it. We got to keep things, um keep things nice and neat. So anyway, that's where I try to. I got a few people that want to compete and do some stuff, but they're not wanting to put in the extra work, or they're not winning in the tournaments. And I was like, well, did you stretch at home? Did you practice at home? Did you do your extra workouts or push-ups here and there? And they're like, no, I just came to class. And I was like, well, if you put in, you like you just said, you get in, you get out of it what you put into it. And so if you're just putting in a medium or minimal effort, that's what you're going to get out of it. So that's something I learned, and I learned it the hard way too. I definitely went into some matches, unprepared and didn't put the work in, and I felt it, and typically didn't work out well if I didn't prepare properly and stuff like that. So that's something I try to encourage. Is man, if you want to be, if your goal is to be successful and to win, you have to be willing to put in extra work and do the things that you don't want to do. The physically, mentally, diet wise, all that stuff. If you just want to compete and have fun, that's great. Just don't don't have the expectations of being world champion, but gain from the experience, learn, and that's totally great. So it just makes you know your goals and have realistic expectations for what your goals are and how much work you're putting into it and things like that. So
Yeah, expectations. You hit the word I was thinking of while you were talking about that. Is you got, the instructors, we always have expectations of our students. And, mine are pretty simple. If I teach you something, practice, go home and practice it a little bit, and you
yep,
can expect to get better. Okay. But you got to have some expectations for yourself. And that goes back to goal setting. Set some goals. And if you want to reach those goals, if you expect to reach those goals, you got to have some expectations on yourself to put in the hard work and the grind to get there.
yeah,
And that's
yeah,
true of every sport. So, and martial arts is, the one thing I've always loved about martial arts, so many things, but it's physical and mental, you know, it really is, and with the physical part, you're training all different parts of your body, and that's where I think it's a lot different than a lot of other sports and activities, you know, like, I know you've worked with some different, you know, pro athletes I have in the past, and they're very strong in certain areas, but then when they try these other movements that they've never done, it's like they've never done an athletic thing in their life, you know? And it's just
Yep.
because I think every sport, whether it be baseball, soccer, football, they have the specific drills that they do based on what their sport and activity is. So there's muscles that don't, you know, get used. And I look at I was just talking with somebody the other day. Somebody was asking me a question and asking my thoughts on like injuries in sports. And it seems like there's a lot more injuries nowadays than there was years back. And I feel like I watch children get into like sports programs. Like soccer is the big one I see around here and hear about it up north where I'm from. And this is the only sport these kids do all year. You know, they do
Mm.
year-round soccer, so they're always continuing to build the muscles for that sport, you know? And then there's a lot of muscles that get overlooked that are not getting used, and I feel like that's where a lot of the injuries are coming from, you know, because 'cause they're not building all the muscles, and I know when I was a kid, we played every sport, you know, recreationally. Nothing was
Mm.
isolated. So different times of the year, we did baseball, football, on top of our regular things that we trained with martial arts and stuff. And I feel like maybe there's something, you know, to that. You know, maybe if you're too isolated in one area, you know, there's a lot of different muscles and, you know, the fast twitch fiber muscles and stuff that are not being built to prevent some of those injuries around those joints.
Yeah. Um, Most definitely. And I think too, um, with the injuries, I think it starts from a young age. You know, kids should be, in my opinion, playing outside and getting bumps and bruises. They should be active because you learn how to I don't know, how to be active, how to fall. I see some kids that are, if they're not active in the first years of their life, um, it really it's like and actually I went to school for this, with the exercise science, and we did a lot on athletics with um, children, and how important those first early stages are of growth, and building muscles and coordination, and stuff like that. And man, if you miss those first couple crucial years, it really makes it difficult, as you get older. So I think that's super important. Two two things. Dopus Crew says he wants to come train with us someday.
Awesome.
We would love that, man. That'd be great. We're always down to train. Boyd Earns struggle mentally with discipline, either fully on it or not at all. So I I, I feel you there, man. I've been there. What's difficult is competing, because you go from full discipline, and I typically did this. I actually shifted a little bit towards the later in my career, but I used to go hardcore 3 or 4 months, fight camps, and I wouldn't have a single sweet. I would have like just boring chicken and rice like every day. Um, uh, training training so much, and then after my competition, the next 2 or 3 months would just be a disaster, right? I would just be eating wings and pizza, and
Milkshake
just
floats and
milkshakes, just putting on bad weight, and then I felt terrible, and then I had to work extra hard to get back to where I was for the next fight, and it just was a bad system. Um, and so I trust me, I've been there, and we're all human. We all go through our ups and downs with our discipline, and stuff like that. So I feel you. But later in my fighting career, I did take a little bit more of a moderation approach, which really seemed to help even that out. After my last few fights, I think I went and got a few pieces of pizza after, and the next day I was actually fine, because I did definitely, I was definitely disciplined. But man, if I wanted a Reese's, here and there, I would eat a Reese's. Um, and I just took a little more of a moderation approach to my last couple fights, and that seemed to help the big swings, right? So I don't know, maybe that might help with the I just have those realistic expectations, and it's I was talking to someone actually this week on setting their goals, and how not to have one little setback. If you make one little hiccup, right? Let's say you're trying to lose weight, just use that simple goal. And you had a cheat meal, you're not happy with it. And it's like, well, you know what? Screw it. The rest of the week, I already messed it up, so we're gonna just eat whatever I want the rest of the week and start again on Monday. Well, you've lost a whole week of, you know, progress. Look at the progress over a week or a month's time, right? In a month's time, 4, 5, 6 cheat meals is not a big deal. Yeah, it's really not. When you have a full month of, you know, of a time frame that you're looking at. Um, but now if mess up on Tuesday and then you just say the heck with it for the rest of the week, now you start doing that week after week. Now you have weeks of, not doing a good job versus, man, 4, 5, 6 cheat meals over a month, you know, you're still gonna see progress and take more of that moderation approach. Um, yeah, that don't beat yourself up. Just um, I don't know. That's my advice. That's the moderation approach really helps. It's like, you know what, I messed up on that meal, didn't do a great job, um, but it was good, and I think I'm good for now. Let me get back on the bandwagon here and get back on track, and so yeah. Anyway, I hope that helps, Boyder. And I've been through all those emotions. I still go through them. you know, always trying to improve, always trying to work on it.
Yeah, it's a constant for sure. And just do everything in moderation, like you said. And, because I remember doing the hard dieting for competitions and stuff, and you're trying to trim out and cut weight or cut fat. And, you go for 3, 4 months. And like you said, I would do the chicken and rice, and that was all I would eat. I would water and protein shakes and all that. And I wouldn't touch anything, that was out of line when I was, serious about it. And it what happens is the things that you really do like to eat, like the ice cream or a Reese's cup, just those simple things, if you deprive yourself, 3 to 4 months, it's
Oh,
natural. That's what's going to happen is once you're done with the diet, the competition's over, and you're gonna hustle back to that and get your fix, right? And
oh, yeah. It was bad. I've had I had a few. Like, if you saw me fight, and then if you saw me like 8 weeks later, you'd be like, "Who's this guy?
two different
He's not.
people.
He's not a fighter." There's a big gut hanging out. Oh man.
Yeah, just do it in moderation, just a little bit, and then this way your system, your body's not craving it, and you're a lot better off that way, I think so. But it is easy to, it's the diet is no different than training too. It's easy.
Oh yeah.
If you're used to training, just for an example, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, that's your training routine, based on your schedule. And Sunday, you stayed up too late to watch the football game or whatever happened on Sunday, and you cut out that Monday workout. You don't have the discipline to go, and then Wednesday gets here, and I don't want to go. I'll go back Friday, and that starts to turn into, you don't go
Hmm.
back for 3, 4 weeks, and then you go back 3, 4 weeks, and after that first workout, you're so sore you don't want to go back.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it's like a
I've done
downward
that.
spiral. So yeah, we've all been there. It's human nature, and so just try to stay consistent. If you miss something or you screw up on the diet, don't keep doing it, just try to fix it right away before it gets too bad, so
One we could I know we got to wrap up here because we got busy days ahead, but we could sit here and talk forever. Um, oh shoot, I forgot my point that I was going to make. What point did you just make?
just
I
not,
got
if you fall off, get back on quick. Don't let it, go don't keep procrastinating to go back to the gym or on your diet or whatever.
okay. Yeah, sorry, I was getting ahead of myself. Another thing I've learned to do is I used to overtrain. I used to just work my body to till it was almost dead, and I feel like I couldn't leave the gym if I could lift my arms over my head, like, I still had to stay at the gym, you know?
Mhm,
If I could still if my legs weren't, like, shaking walking out of the gym, if I wasn't, like, almost crawling out of the gym, I would stay. Um, so I used to overtrain, and that doesn't do your body any good either. So, I've been doing a lot of, uh, do your own research, obviously, for what's right for you, and be safe and healthy. But I've been taking that moderation approach to exercising, actually, because if you look at the idea of um, quantity, right? So if you do, let's just use easy numbers. Let's say I did 50 push-ups today, and that made me so sore that I couldn't do push-ups for 3 more days, right? So then today's Tuesday, so Friday would be the next time I could do push-ups, right? So I did in a 3 or 4 day span, I did 50 push-ups. So what if I only did 20 push-ups, you know, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? Well, now I've done 80 push-ups instead of 50,
mhm.
right? Um, and so I've been taking a little bit more of that approach, with some different numbers and obviously different exercises and stuff like that. Same with jujitsu. If you train jujitsu 110%, like we talked about in the beginning of our stream here, um, and you're so sore that you can't train for 2, 3, or 4 days, man, you've missed out on valuable training time. Whereas if you would have trained at maybe 70%, left some gas in the tank, and then you can come back the next day, and then you can come back the next day. And it is good to train hard every once in a while. I love training hard every once in a while, but not every time. And so now in a week's time, you've got 3 or 4 days of training versus one, and you're gaining that much more knowledge, that much more timing, that much more practice. So um, that's another thing I've learned how to do over time. My young gung ho hardcore self just I don't think that was the right method of training. That was just my own head. I was coached to do other things, to be smarter than that. But my own head was like, I'm gonna grind tougher and train harder than my opponent. And my first fight, I was in the craziest shape of my life. I'd run 3 miles to practice. We'd train for 2 hours. I'd run 3 miles back home. Then I'd go to school, and then I would go teach classes all night. And then we would do a night workout, and then it, I was doing this 4, 5, 6 days a week. Gassed out in 90 seconds in my first fight. You know, and I think a lot of that was because I overtrained.
Yeah.
And my body was so depleted, so dead, and um, that I definitely learned my lessons, some of them the hard way.
Yeah, and doing just a little bit because like you said, you could do the 50 push-ups the one day. I like that analogy because we try to drill this into our students at the school, and don't do 50 or 100 of something. Just break it down and do 10, 15, 20, but do it every single day.
Hmm.
And typically, if you can do, something for like 30 days in a row, 28 to 30 days in a row, it's going to help to develop a habit. And for anybody that's ever had like a bad habit, I know people that have had habits like smoking is a good example. I've known a lot of people to smoke within my family, aunts and uncles and stuff, and most of them that have smoked have never stopped because it's such a hard habit to kick. And if you
Hmm.
can develop good habits, if you can get used to doing 10 kicks a day, you know, it's going to stay with you and it starts to become a habit. You don't have to think about it. So it makes the discipline easier that you just automatically are doing it. And it's no different than, with kids when we teach them to show respect. One of the simple ways we show them to show respect is just saying, yes, ma'am, yes, sir, and if they do that for 30 days, it starts to become a habit. So now when their parents are asking them to do things at home, like Johnny, clean your room, they don't think about it. They just do it, once they get that habit. And it's really hard to get those habits like that. So the
Yeah.
more we can do for ourselves to make that easier, the better. This way we're building the habits, but we're not having to think about it as much.
Yeah, and I just want to put out there and hopefully we give off the this vibe, but we're just normal dudes. We're just normal guys. We're not I've everything everybody has talked about today, I experience, I still experience, I still feel those
100%.
things. Um, and we're just trying to trying our best to be, positive role models for students and friends, and also trying to surround ourselves with people doing the same thing. That's a huge thing, is having the people around you that have similar goals, and but yeah, by no means trying to sit here and preach things, or uh, just trying to go through our experiences, and what's helped us, and if that helps somebody else or helps their mindset, that would be awesome.
And one thing, when we do talk about this stuff, and it's not like we're on a high horse. I talk about this stuff all the time in my classes because I teach every day, but it helps me to make sure I'm doing these things too. And it's a
Oh,
reminder
100%.
daily, and because I always tell the students, I try to practice what I preach. So when I'm at the school, I'll be working out. If I want them to work out, and there's a lot to be said for that. But if it's out of mind, it's out of sight, out of sight, out of mind. So I like to talk about this stuff all the time, and it just helps to keep us on our training too, and making sure we're doing, the stuff that we're preaching to.
Yeah, I try to little things like, it's a rule. So we practice like nunchucks and sticks in the classes. If they drop their nunchuck, they got to do 5 push-ups. So it really teaches them to focus and not want to drop that nunchuck. And if I drop it, I know I drop down and do the same thing, and try to set that example. And same thing, it's that the more we talk about it, the more it reminds us and instills in us to, it's like, yeah, I need to not eat that second piece of cake, or or I need to make sure I get my workout in today, so I can um, help the kids with their stuff. So, well, that was a lot of martial arts talk, and I know we could keep going forever. So, but you got anything else to wrap up with?
I think that's it for today. We're getting ready to get kicking, and got a busy day ahead. And then I know we'll be back Thursday for our regular stream, going over some Upland stuff and having some fun. We're going to be doing some races this week, and we have a really, really cool prize going out too. On Thursday, we had a community member actually from the Hyde Park Ninjas, longtime community member, that donated a really nice prize. So we'll be giving that out on Thursday too, and we'll be doing some racing and other fun stuff. Anything else for Thursday?
I don't think so. I think we'll just be talking some Upland, talking some Spark Tycoon probably, and some other giveaways. So, yeah, just come and hang out and have a good time.
Awesome. All right. Well, we'll look forward to seeing everybody in the next one. Thanks everybody for joining us. Hopefully something that we said today or talked about resonated with you. And like he KO said, we're just human too. We're just two regular dudes that have done martial arts our whole life and like to share our experience with everybody we meet. So, but until the next one, we will see you guys next week.
Later, everybody.